Hello! How is everyone doing today? Arden, how are you today?
Hello, I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I had a little crash out earlier today, and it just happens. It just happens. But we're fine. We're back on track. It was like one of those moments where you just like need to cry it out. So I cried it out. We're okay.
Oh, I totally understand. I relate very hard.
Oh God. And you know what? It just feels like every day of this hellish administration, there's a different reason to cry. So, you know,
Oh yeah.
we found one today. Shocker.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I totally get that though. I was just at my therapist's office today and they were talking about I was talking about, like, oh man, like I kind of wish I didn't like smoke weed as much. Like it definitely, inhibits like certain aspects of my life. It also helps. And they were like, stop. Look around at the world. Take a breath.
Yeah.
Like, let's not be too judgmental on ourselves for how we're coping with the reality of the world that we're all living in right now? So I definitely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I think sorry, I'm pulling up the chat on my phone so I can see what everyone's talking about. I was it's weird you say that because you talked about that a little bit last episode where you were like, I don't know, I smoke weed a lot, wish I wasn't super dependent on it. And as you were saying that, I was literally like, I think I should start smoking weed actually. Like I think I should start doing like edibles. Like as you were like I should
Ah!
slow down. I was like, and I should start. And
Listen, there's a healthy balance. I've been smoking weed since I was 15 years old and I am
yeah.
29. That is like almost half of my
Yeah.
life. So,
Yeah.
it's extreme, right? Like I got into it way too young and I became way too much of a habit way too young. So that is very different from like at your age being like, oh, I want to like start like taking edible. Like if you haven't been smoking for like the last 10 years, I think you're fine.
Yeah. I think I mostly just my like stress is too much and
Yeah.
at a certain point it's like I'm either going to have to take trazodone to get through my day and me and the chihuahua will be on the same medication or it's happened before, it might happen again, or I'm going to need to find a cutie little edible. But because I don't smoke weed at all, the amount of THC that it like I will be if I have 10 milligrams, I'm climbing the fucking walls. Like
Right.
I'm so, baby steps. We'll see. Also, this is chewed gum.
Hey, this is not a
Hey,
marijuana show, I promise.
certainly not. This is chewed gum. It is Tuesday, May 20th, and we talk about all kinds of purity culture and sexy and religion things here. Um, and yeah, and we also talk about smoking weed apparently occasionally.
Today we do.
Today we do.
You
Today
guys
we
have me
do.
on. Listen,
Listen, what's a girl to do? What's a girl to do?
what's a
Yeah, so
girl
I
to
don't.
do?
I
Ooh.
might. I might. I'm in New York, and I think in New York we have dispensaries that I don't need a card for, if I remember correctly. So I can just
Yeah.
like mosey on in there. So maybe I'll do that this weekend. I'm like a little nervous because I'm literally I would need to take like a 3 milligram and cut that shit in half.
Yeah, no, that's totally makes sense. Honestly, I think if you can train yourself to like get a like medicinal benefit out of less, that's better. Because like genuinely, like I understand it's not like physiologically addictive or whatever. Like you're not going to go into cold sweats if you stop, right? But like for sure, there's a dependency issue that can develop, and so I definitely think take as little as you need to get that medicinal benefit. But oh, now I'm giving fucking medical advice. Okay, we have a show that has nothing to do with this topic at hand. I'm gonna shut the fuck up.
Oh my god, that's so funny. But yeah, I agree. It's just like the ashwagandha's not cutting it anymore. Like
Yeah,
we need something like a little fucking stronger.
that's what I'm saying. Listen, sometimes you just need to detab. I'm like, there's
Yeah.
a healthy level of dissociation that needs to take place when we are living in this absolute hellscape we are. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, so anyways, we have some callers, but we do have open lines as well. So you can give us a call at 720-619-2288 or use the web link that's in the description. And you can talk to myself and Arden about whatever you would like to choose. I have had so many, it's always like this. Promise says this too. Where are all of the people that are in my Instagram comments and in my DMs and saying all this horrible shit and they never call in?
Uh-huh. It's always the worst ones
Call
too.
in. Yeah.
Yep. Total
Oh
cowards.
my
They
God.
feel
Little
really safe
cowards.
from behind their keyboard, telling you all how terrible and awful you are. I saw the one you
Oh,
posted on your Instagram story this week of that person being like, let me give you my my fictional
oh,
scenario of all the awful things that are going to happen to you. And it's like, what possesses somebody to be
what?
like, to fantasize about it in that degree? That is insane.
That was crazy. And you want to know something? She deleted her entire account. So I don't know. At first I was like, "Oh, she blocked me." And the message was it was like because I've been talking. I made a video about Adriana Smith and the situation in Georgia. Which, if you don't know, there's a woman. I don't remember if we talked about this on the show last week, but there's a woman who is, I think she's 30 years old. She was 9 weeks pregnant when she fell unconscious and brain dead. She passed. I think she had like blood clots in her brain. Um, and she was 9 weeks pregnant, and because of the laws, the abortion laws in Georgia, she's being kept alive to basically be like an incubator for this baby, which
Yeah.
as a result, like this baby's not going to survive. So, and it's against the family's wishes, and it's a big mess, and it's horrible. And like a huge human rights travesty. Like literally what the fuck? So I made a video about it. And so I've gotten a lot of conversation about abortion on my Instagram, and this one woman commented and said that she hopes something along the lines of like she hopes that God never gives me a baby if I ever want to get pregnant, and that I'm going to do IVF and it still won't happen, and then I'm going to try to adopt and it still won't happen because of the things that I post. And I was like, well, do you to assume that I want kids, actually?
Yeah.
But I just screenshotted it and I put it in my story, and I said that that wasn't very nice. It was not. I didn't even respond to her, and she had already deleted the comment. By the time I put that in my story, but I fucking caught her. I just happened to be on my phone at that time, and then now her account is completely gone. She deleted her entire account.
That's crazy. It's like, and it's like completely a self-own, right? Like you did a thing that was very obviously terrible. Like writing this like hate porn about somebody, took all this time on your day to make it so detailed. And then when they turn the spotlight back on you, you're like, oh, never mind. I'm going to hide away from everything. Like, and you're so
Literally,
brave to say that. Just own it. Like, take pride in how awful you are proud to be, Like,
right. And it's also like I didn't even actually say I just said that that wasn't very nice. Like I was actually really. And it's like she posted, it wasn't even a DM, it was a comment. It was publicly posted. So like
yeah.
I didn't actually do anything at all, really. And she just was so embarrassed by her own behavior, which she should be, because what the fuck? And also, she was a woman. When I looked at her bio, she was she's a mom of 2 living in Texas, and also, obviously religious, because she's talking about God giving giving me babies or whatever. So, classic demo for a comment like that.
Yep. Yeah, that is just so weird. Yeah, it's so strange to me when people are so willing to be so awful in public, but then if you like point it out or respond to it in any way, it's like full Darvo, right? Like totally reverse, like, oh, actually, you're the one who's terrible for pointing out the thing that I said because I'm just a little nobody who doesn't have any followers, and so it's really scary when you point a spotlight at me. It's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have commented that. Hello?
Right. Am I not a person? Am I not allowed to be upset? And also, it was like more just shocking. I was like, wow, that's a crazy response.
Mhm.
And I also, I was talking to Jimmy about this on the podcast earlier too. Like, on the internet, people don't have enough consequences for their actions. I don't really think that like, and he told me that Matt feels similarly, that I don't think that canceling is real. Like, I don't really think that anyone has been successfully canceled on the internet. Cyberbullied for sure, but like, I don't think that anyone's been canceled. And so like, there's no real consequences on the internet. Bonnie. There's no real consequences on the internet. And so like, if the only consequence that I'm giving you is literally just taking what you said to me and putting it in a different public place, so be it. Why shouldn't you have consequences for the shitty things you say?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I'm not convinced that everyone I know who's been canceled has like gone on to do like 10 podcasts about how they were canceled. Like, it's just like,
Yeah.
I'm like, so what does canceling just mean? Like, somebody responded who wasn't just going to like glaze you and be like, oh my God, you're so smart and incredible and amazing and so right on this issue. Like, it really feels like any other response is like considered canceling to a lot of people. Very strange.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous. And I think that like the whole sorry, my mom just came home, so the dogs are gonna freak the fuck out for like a couple minutes. Anyway, super chats of $5 or more. We're really listen. I already had a mentee beat today, so we're doing our best. Super chats of $5 or more will be read at the end of the show. And what else? If you're not a Patreon member, go to patreon.com/calltheline. This is insane.
They are definitely losing their minds, for sure.
No, they're losing their shit because my mother is home. Anyway.
Well, this is the dog
Arden,
barking
you say
show.
Something.
This is the dog bark show. Yeah, we've also got a bunch of different shows coming up tomorrow night on the Hang Up. It's going to be Andrew Seidel with Matt Delahunty, and then it's going to be Luxander and Ben on TACIS on Thursday, and I think Promise is going to do the early show this Sunday. So you guys will get to see her, since I know 2 p.m. is going to be a little bit more in an accessible time frame for her, where she is now. So yeah, you guys, I know I saw some people in the chat being like, I like Arden, but I miss Promise. And like, listen, me too. Like, as much as I love Alyssa and being here, Tuesday, I always work the whole day beforehand. So I'm always kind of tired when I'm here. And I'm like, and Promise is so good at this. I'm like, please come back, please. Like, listen, I know it's so much better where you are, but please come back.
Yeah, I know. She's when we did an episode of the podcast, which I ended up, the audio got like so fucked up and we ended up having to redo it today. But when we did an episode of the podcast yesterday, I think, or Sunday, she picked up the phone and I was like, Promise, you look so calm. I was like, she's so like at peace visibly. What the fuck are they yelling at? Now I'm mad. Anyway, she looks so visibly at peace that I was like, honestly, maybe you shouldn't come back. I was like, this is like, she looks different. I was like, wow, you look so healthy and glowy and rested.
I can't imagine. I mean, like, I'm sure she's still getting the news and like whatever, but just to be at a place where you're like, I don't know, like, I don't think it's realistically going to happen, but I do feel like there's a little bit of a background anxiety living in the States right now with what we do, like here on this network, where I'm like, I don't know, at any moment, like, YouTube could just say, nope, Trump gave us an ultimatum, your kind of content, gone, out of here. But like, at least she's in a place where it's like safe there and it doesn't feel quite as dire. So I imagine that's got to feel amazing. I would love to be in a similar situation, but I'm in Texas, y'all. Yeehaw. We just had that judge who ruled that, well, you can't fire someone for being gay or trans. You can harass them and discriminate against them on the basis of their LGBTQ identity in the workplace. So, I mean, luckily, Jimmy can't fire me. Are you kidding me? This network would fall apart if he fired me. So I'm all set. It would
be in shambles. Yeah, I was thinking earlier today about how no one I know wants to work for like a company anymore. Like most people that I know want to work for themselves if they don't already. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's so crazy. Because when I was in college, it was like everyone was thinking about like which company they wanted to, like, I was working in fashion. So it's like which brand you wanted to work for or whatever. It was so exciting. And now everyone's like, I would rather work for myself or And I'm realizing now how much things have changed because it's like the wage just hasn't matched inflation and hasn't gone up to match inflation in 52 years. And all of the laws that are related to discrimination, DEI, whatever, like it's all just going to turn on half our population.
Yeah.
So it's a hot mess. And there's something else you were saying about being in Texas, being in Finland. Oh, I'm a little worried about if she's going to get back in, though. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
I'm a little worried about that.
I've heard, even though I know Ayuka is a citizen, well, hopefully I'm allowed to say that. I don't know how much that's private. I heard that like even naturalized citizens should be a little concerned about trying to get back into the US. So it is pretty terrifying, you know? It's really hard to know. Yeah. But I mean, I respect them for, at least I think they're on the good side of it, right? Because if they try to come in and they're like, no, you have to go back, they're gonna be like, okay.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh no.
Oh no.
I guess we'll have to stay.
Terrible.
They will be so fine.
Okay. We do have some calls. You wanna talk to some people?
Let's do it. Do you have a preference of who you want to pull in first?
No. I'll let you lead on that. You pick whoever you want.
Okay. I'm gonna pull in Dave first because I am most interested in this conversation first. Okay. So we have Dave calling in from California.
Mm-hmm. I did not expect to be first, but I mean, before we get started on the topic, would you ladies allow me to just glow at you for a second?
To do what?
To glow at you for a second.
I don't know what that means.
Sure.
Oh,
I'm afraid.
Sorry. I wanted to tell you, well, I wanted to start by saying thank you for having me back on. And Alyssa, when we disconnected last time, I didn't hear what you said right as I was disconnecting, but then I went back and listened to the call again, and I heard you say, "Oh, I love his laugh," and I had a smile on my face for 2 days. And so, thank you for just that just made me feel so good when I went back and listened to the call. It warmed my heart. That's part of what I meant by glowing at you.
That's so nice. I'm so glad.
And then to Arden, I wanted to say, seeing you the last few days working with Jovan Bradley has been the peanut butter to my chocolate in parasocial world. It's been fantastic. I love it. So that I just wanted to glow at the both of you. And also I wanted to get Arden your email address because you guys were talking about getting stoned earlier, and last night I got really, really baked, and I was listening to Billy Joel, and I wrote a satirical essay about gender identity based on She's Always a Woman. And
please,
and
you could wait. Send it to me, Dave. Send it to me.
Yeah.
It's
okay. Yeah.
Alyssa.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the chat also, but it's Alyssa Ljub, like all of my social media at gmail.com. Please send it to me and I'll share it with Arden.
Yeah,
that's
that
really funny.
All right, I will send it after the call because it was just like the perfect storm of creativity and weed and things that I give a shit about. So
I love it.
Amazing.
All right, and then you were all afraid about the topic, right?
I was a little nervous, but and also open because I think there is space for this conversation. But do you want to explain what your topic is because no one has seen it yet?
Sure. So my topic was that I think that toxic femininity needs to be addressed also. And I did make sure, and of course I know tone doesn't come through text, I emphasize the word also to the call screener because I'm not trying to say that it is needs to be in place of the toxic masculinity conversation. I'm saying that it should be beside it.
Okay, so tell me more about the toxic femininity that you are referring to.
So there are a number of behaviors and activities that I've observed, and then I've, maybe not always consuming the best social media out there because rabbit hole's gonna rabbit hole. But just finding things that really resonated with my own experiences with women, and things that were just like really toxic in relationships, and also in communication. And I feel like it spreads online as well. You guys were talking about how nobody anywhere has any consequences for how they interact on social media. And along those lines, if you want specifics, I could give you specifics, but they would be anecdotal. Um, I will say, I don't know if you're familiar with a content creator named Lynn Watchhorn.
I don't think so.
No.
Well, she's a relationship counselor. I don't know her credentials, to be perfectly honest, so I'm not going to be like she's an expert or anything. But she's a relationship counselor, and a lot of her content is talking to women about things that they do that are not helping relationships or conversation, communication. And as I've been, well, I don't agree with everything she says. I do know that my algorithm has started like throwing some incel shit my way. So like, I'm sure there's some cross sections there, but I don't feel like the conversation is without merit. To say that like there are behaviors and patterns that we see that are hurting the conversation.
So what I'll say is I think that there's a part of what you're saying that is right and that is true. And there's also a part of it where there's a reason why when you're going to give examples, they're anecdotal, because as a whole, we still exist in a society that will make life easier for the men around us. And so I think it's sometimes is a hard pill for women to swallow, that we are still meant to be nice in the face of a system that is continuously putting us at disadvantages and then telling us to be nice anyway. And so while I think that's the attitude that we are operating from, many women are operating from, in the same breath, if we're favoring progress, most of the time it's not going to happen with people being combative towards each other. So in that way, yeah, like I get it. But I'll tell you, because this whole conversation has been like very much a part of my coaching business. It's been a part of my online presence, particularly in the past like month or so. It's a lot of conversation about like the male loneliness situation. And I'm also going to just say my computer battery is draining like crazy. So if for whatever reason something happens, maybe I'll grab my mom's computer and we'll figure it out. But I'm just going to give the warning now while it's happening. Anyways, so I should have done that before. I don't know why I didn't do that. But yes, this conversation has been like a big part of my presence online and in my coaching business. And on a personal level, it's so frustrating because it feels like men are being asked to simply share the podium for the first time in like literally eternity. And it's been only a couple of years, and they literally cannot handle it and cannot hack it. And it's just like, can you for 5 fucking minutes accept that you are not, and this is me speaking like anecdotally, not as a coach, and like me as like just a woman being frustrated with the experience. It's like, can you not for 5 minutes just not be the center of attention and figure it out on your own? Like, why is it that we still have to be responsible for cleaning up the mess that you created? You created a society where women are underneath your fucking thumb. We figured out a way through community and through being activists on our own by marching in the streets for our rights and whatever else we needed to do. Boots on the ground, real work for years and years and decades, centuries to get where we are. And now we have a moment where we're experiencing equality, and now all of a sudden the world needs to stop because there's a male loneliness epidemic. And there was a conversation happening on Threads where someone said, actually, it's well documented that loneliness is being experienced by all genders. And I said, that's exactly my point. Loneliness is being experienced by everyone, but I have not heard a single person say female loneliness epidemic. It's only the male loneliness epidemic that we're treating as an epidemic. And it just makes me feel fucking insane. You know, so like I see both sides of the coin, because at the end of the day, it's like, if we want progress, yeah, like we have to like be kind of nice to each other. But it's also kind of like, why do we have to do that to favor your progress again? Again, we've been favoring your progress this whole time. Figure it out.
I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels
So,
a little bit like
anyway.
the model minority problem, where it's like, in order to have the conversation to advance equality for all of us, like women and queer people and people of color have to be like almost flawless in every element of our life when we're like kind of lodging forward these things. But like to the extent that, like, I don't know, like toxic behavior is bad no matter who it's coming from, like, sure, I'm sure there are some things you could come up with that are worth addressing. But I do wonder how much of like, because like when we're talking about toxic masculinity, right? Like we're talking about kind of a specific phenomenon that's been studied. Like this would be great if Roxanne Feelig were here, because she studies like gender-based violence. That's her whole thing. But like, no, we're talking about like, yeah, how it, contributes to gender-based violence and things like, like boys growing up not feeling like they're able to express themselves to their fullest capacity, and like how that inhibits their success in certain areas. I'm not sure that I see a similar thing happening to women that is like happening by the structures built for women, right? Because like the toxic masculinity thing happens in a structure that is built by men for men, right? So it's like a male inflicted problem onto other men. But like there's no real example of like a structure that I'm seeing built by women for women that is inflicting this kind of thing. But maybe I'm wrong. Like if you have an example, I definitely would love to hear it. Or if you have like maybe some like categories of things, like I'm having a hard time grappling on to like what exactly you're talking about.
Sure, and like I said, I didn't. I was hesitant to give examples because anecdotal evidence, the plural of anecdote is not evidence, right? So I didn't want to give those as these are examples of everything, but they are. I could give examples of behaviors that I am talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I am curious. I would kind of like to see how that relates to like what we're talking about when we talk about toxic masculinity. So, yeah.
Right. So, again, it's anecdotal. So this is something that happened to me recently on a social media interaction. I responded to a post that was there were women who thought I had a bad take, and I was like, okay, I understand I had a bad take. I understand I made some assumptions when I came into the conversation, and I apologize for that. I do think that there's a more nuanced conversation to be had here, and I swear to the Jesus I don't believe in, that is a verbatim response. I'm not trying to couch anything word for word. And then I just get a bunch of like, oh, you're sea lioning. Oh, fuck you. Get out of our. It was just like ridiculous when I both acknowledged my mistake and just said, hey, there's a dialogue to be had. And then I just get pounded on by a bunch of women. And then they try to be, oh, 3 women are in the chat telling you you're wrong. Maybe you should listen. And I was just like, okay, but that three women having all the same opinion and not having a conversation is still not having a conversation. So
Totally.
that's
But I think
an
there's also
example of
I get it, and it's another
Go ahead.
moment where I see both sides, where it's kind of like, well, was this a conversation that was open to feedback? Like, I think everyone on the internet feels that, you know, everything is open to feedback, and I get it because, like, if you post publicly, it is. But like, it sometimes it feels like there is always going to be a man in the room who's going to go, just to play devil's advocate, and it's like, okay, but like sometimes we can just hear the point and like let it live. And like we don't always need devil's advocate. However, again, it's like the internet is horrible at nuance. They will take everything for face value in a way that is infuriating to me because you're right. There is nuance in this conversation. And there's value in having the conversation, but I think it's just that I think many women are really tired of having it. It's like I want to have these conversations that are nuanced and that involve the feelings and emotions of men and are caring towards men, because I think that that will lead towards progress. And at the same time, we have a 30-year-old woman who's hooked up to life support because her body doesn't matter to the men in our government, and we have trans women and trans folks in general whose bodies also don't matter to our government, which is primarily run by men. And it's like, so like, forgive me if I don't want to hear what people have to say in like a, I think it's just like a lot of hurt and a lot of it's hard to make space for people wanting to like play devil's advocate and have this like open back and forth, when it's kind of like, well, the back and forth has literally only gone one way for so long, and we still are feeling and seeing moments where like women are not treated equally. So it's like, why should I share this podium with you?
And I think after talking with you ladies, I did gain a better understanding. So thank you. I think Arden hit the nail on the head the best and I think maybe I was even mislabeling it as toxic femininity. I think when Arden said, toxic behavior is toxic behavior, I think that's where I was really coming from. And it happened that I was experiencing it in a feminist space and not necessarily toxic femininity. I think that might be a better framing of what I was of what that example was.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. There might be some examples of something that someone could call toxic femininity, but even most of the ones that like I can really think of kind of feel like they're extensions of the patriarchy. So it's like hard to like, again, like I feel like it misuses this like toxic femininity, toxic masculinity kind of structure, which talks about like the structure built by men for men that's harming men, right? And that dynamic I just am not seeing present. What you described just sounds to me like the internet. Like I think Alyssa said it. Like it just like people on the internet are just fucking insane. Like this is why I mean, like I had a decent following on Twitter. That was where I got most of like my traffic towards the other things I did on the internet was from Twitter at the time. But I had to stop using it, and I'm so glad I did, because it was just like it's useless, because that's the kind of stuff that happens all over the place. Every single post, there's people arguing and telling you how you're bad and wrong and didn't do it right or whatever, and it's just like not actually a functional space at all. Whereas I'm finding when I'm having like conversations here on these shows or with other activists, like, in real life or on like a call or whatever, like face to face, those conversations are so different, and they're nothing like what you're seeing in like those kinds of posts. Like I think it's a big trap that a lot of people fall into, to be like, oh, I saw somebody react poorly on social media, that must represent some group of people in some meaningful way. And it's like, it really doesn't though. Like, not only are like low key, like a little bit of like kind of thinking the dead internet theory is like a little bit real. So I'm like, I don't even know that these people are actual people. Like, this could be like a fucking Russian bot, happening for all I know. But even if I assume they are, like one person who is a little unhinged and doesn't know exactly how to like converse on a topic no, it just doesn't really mean anything. Like, I really have a hard time attributing anything to that other than like, yeah, welcome to the internet. I don't know.
No, actually, I definitely want to thank you. I feel like talking to you ladies helped me reframe some of these things that I've been thinking about, and I guess I just want to wish you a good rest of your day because you have a lot of people to talk to today whose minds are probably not going to change. So
We try.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate the kind conversation and bringing up tough topics and all the things. So I appreciate it.
all right, and I will send you that the email for that essay because you're going to laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send it to me, and also send me that relationship coach or expert, whoever you were talking about.
Lynn
who was sharing.
Watchhorn. Yeah, Lynn
Yeah.
Watchhorn. I can send you. I'll send you her Facebook link in there.
Perfect. Thank you, Dave.
All right. Have a good
Talk
rest
to you
of your
soon.
evening, ladies.
Bye.
Thanks. You too. Bye. All
All
right.
right.
That was a good first call. I also am beckoning my mother to bring me her computer because I'm very worried about what's going to happen
Oh
here.
no.
So
That's all right.
we're at 17%. So we're just gonna.
Where was it when we started? I'm curious. What's the rate of decrease?
It was like 35, I think, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's plugged in. It just does not charge if I'm doing anything. So
Okay.
the battery's just cooked, and I need to have it replaced really bad. Oh,
Yep.
and there she is! Yay! Thank you so much. Okay,
You want me to like one up myself while you
Yeah,
transfer
well, actually,
over?
I'll pull up all of my tabs and stuff first before. Do we have any other, like, we went through announcements and stuff, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything super pressing. I mean, we can kind of. I know we did talk about Patreon at the beginning, but I do want to remind people that we are getting back to doing those monthly Zoom Q&A sessions. We've got a new system in place to hopefully start giving people like. We haven't decided whether it's going to be the first or like the last Saturday or Friday of the month, but it's going to be one of those two. And we're going to, just like we schedule every other show, have our hosts, put in availability for that, and then kind of like assign it. That way it always is happening, and it's always being facilitated. It's probably not going to be, I know we're bringing a new staff member on pretty soon, and they might be involved in facilitating that. I'm not completely sure how it's going to go, but all that to say, a new reward for you guys. So if you do want to support us on Patreon, not only does it massively help the channel, we get the biggest margin of that out of like anything else that you guys give us, but there's new rewards coming for you, so it'll be worth it. And you get like ad-free versions of the podcast, right? So there's lots of good stuff there.
Okay. Oh, I got the link up and then I realized I need to like plug in my camera and everything. Like, what am I doing? Okay. Make yourself big and I'll be back in like a minute.
All right. We'll see you in a second. No problem.
Okay.
All right. So let's see. Maybe I can like take one of these calls. There's one of these calls that seems pretty mild. It's not getting into too much stuff. So I think we'll take that really quick while we wait for Alyssa to get all set up. So let's talk to Ben in Alabama. Pronouns are he, him. Ben, you're live on Shoot Gum with just Arden for now. Hopefully Alyssa will hop in later. But what is going on?
Okay. Well, thanks. No, it's interesting because it's a topic that I've heard Alyssa talk about before.
Okay.
Which is affirmations.
Yeah.
I realized I'd had a very important event in my life that involved an affirmation exercise.
Ben, sorry, real quick. I just I'm having a hard time hearing you. The audio's coming in and out. I don't know if you're like have a headset or if you're away from your mic or something. Ooh, that sounds better.
That's it. Okay, I guess it's really sensitive to where I position the mic.
Yeah, it did still cut out again a little bit, but can you just start that over? I want to make sure we're not missing anything.
Yeah, you know what? I can just turn these off.
Okay. Ooh, actually, I think she's back, so this might be okay. Can you hear us, Alyssa? Okay, hold on. Let me. There we go.
Yay!
Okay, awesome.
All right.
Sorry, go ahead, Ben. Can you start from the beginning again?
Sorry,
Yeah,
Jess.
I actually realized my phone's acting weird, so I'm not going to touch anything.
Okay.
Yeah, so a little over a decade ago, I had a affirmation exercise that had a big impact on my life. It was like before that, I'd had a lot of, I was very, very insecure, and it had a lot of negative impacts on my life. And I was going through a period where of some pretty serious disappointments, and I was kind of wondering like where all this insecurity was coming from. And and I think it was largely like it was like a maybe a vicious combination of anxiety plus poor self-esteem.
Hmm.
And I sat down and I wrote up a list of every characteristic I had that I knew I would admire or like if I saw in somebody else that I had. And essentially took this list and looked in a mirror, read the list, and and then I ended up believing everything that was on the list because they were all true statements. And it basically like opened a big door in my mind. And it's like after that, it's like I liked myself. I loved myself after that. And it pretty much changed everything for me. Just this one exercise. And
Then
I thought it
I
was
it.
yeah. Go ahead.
No, all I said was that I love it. Continue.
Yeah, and it's something that has occurred to me quite a bit is that I wonder about is I see insecurity everywhere I look in people, whether they're like making themselves look smaller or making themselves look bigger. And I also see people who seem to have the attitude that they are smaller than other people and then just going along with what they say. And I guess I wish everybody had an experience like I had and wouldn't, would have the self-esteem to stand up for themselves or to, be a little more critical and in thinking about people who try to tell you, oh, I have all the answers. But, we're all in the same boat.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alyssa.
Well, so, I don't know, Arden, if you know, but we had a lot of conversations about affirmations on Chewed Gum because they are something that I do with my coaching clients, and I've recommended them to people, including Monkey at Typewriter, which is a Chewed Gum OG. We love him. And they are something that any client that I have that comes from the line community, because I do have really wonderful clients who started to like reach out to me for coaching, one-on-one coaching, and we have really great, it's really fun, it's great to like have relationships with people who are also a part of this community. But it's really funny because there's some crossover with, I think, like the skeptic community, that they're really not into doing affirmations. So it was like a hard sell for Promise. It's been a hard sell for those clients. And I get it. It's because like you go on Instagram and it'll be like an affirmation with like pink cloud sunset in the background and like the worst font you've ever seen. And it'll be like, I am strong. And it's like, that's not what we mean by affirmations. And I feel like Ben, what you're describing is a perfect example, because what it actually is who you are by your own evidence is so much more impactful, which it sounds like that's what you're describing. It's like you made
Yeah.
affirmations that were very suited to who you are, and it's a reminder of who you are, how you show up in this world, which like we constantly are in a negative feedback loop in our heads, and it just helps create a positive one. And there's also decades of research around affirmations being helpful. So for the people who are skeptic, I get it. And also decades of research.
Yeah. It's a very similar phenomenon when it comes to like meditation in the skeptic community. Yeah, not only does affirmation have decades of research, highly effective at improving like your self-image and quality of life and things like that, but meditation is also very similar where it's so effective. Like there's decades of data that is just like irrefutable on its efficacy, and still so many skeptic atheist people are like, it sounds a little too close to woo to me, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, it's not. It's like an evidence-based practice. It's empirical, but yeah, it is. I noticed that from a lot of our people as well. It's frustrating, but yeah, I'm glad you
Yeah,
had such a positive experience, Ben.
Oh yeah, I mean it's the exact opposite of woo, because it's like I was in denial over basically my own qualities,
Mhm.
and I look at other people and say, hey, you're pretty cool, and it's like, why wasn't I doing that to me? I think everyone ought to do that. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of problems are exacerbated by people making themselves feel small.
Yeah.
So
100%.
yeah, I guess.
We're in a negative feedback loop a lot of our life because it's like it's way easier to believe that we are, lazy and not good friends and, I don't know, procrastinating everything. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm actually just sharing what my feedback loop is. I'm exposing myself. um, but it's there's so many stories of people who are really successful and they become really successful because they from the start believed that they were special. It's like Lady Gaga has a story of how when she was in high school, there was a Facebook group called like Stephanie, I can't remember her last name, You're Not Famous. And they would just basically in that group talk about how she would act like she was famous. And it was embarrassing and it was so cringy and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, guess what? She's Lady fucking Gaga now. And so, and truly, I think that like it's the whole thing about like delusion being important for people being successful because we are our own toughest critics. And we love to put ourselves down. So like this type of stuff, it feels very woo woo, and I get it, but there is research behind it, and also sometimes we just have to gaslight ourselves into thinking that everything is that we are doing everything super well.
Yeah, I think in
And a
this
lot
case,
of times we are.
in this case, it, I believed everything I wrote on the list, and it's like I wasn't fooling myself with those. The fooling myself was making myself feel small and ignoring those things. It's like, yeah, I feel bad
Totally.
shit myself too.
Totally, but it's also like that's who we are. When I have people do my affirmation exercise like in my coaching program, I'll tell you guys exactly what it is, so if anyone wants to do it they can. I have them write down in a word bank. You create a little word bank of 15-ish words, and write down based on who you are on your very best day with your friends, to yourself, in a work environment, and if you've ever had a partner, with a partner. And just collect a bunch of words based on evidence who you are on your very best day. And then you can create little sentences that are like, I am blank, blank, and blank, and use 3 of those adjectives from that word bank and put them literally everywhere you can. Put them on your phone, put them in your notes app, put them, I think Monkey at Typewriter put them, he printed them out and put them on the back of his door. So every time he leaves his house, he sees them. It's stuff like that. And it's like, it's just a nice way to remind yourself that you are actually those things. Like you said, Ben, you're not writing things that you're like delusional about. Like you are actually those things. It's just sometimes we get a little lost in the sauce, and it's easier to believe that we are like this negative version and an unworthy and incapable version of ourselves, when in reality that's most of the time that's not true. I think there was like some number I saw that like 70% of the thoughts that we have in a day are negative ones about ourselves. 70%! That's crazy.
Yeah, and I think like one exercise I've heard is, imagine yourself being that negative to somebody else who's a friend or family member, loved one,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
you'd be an awful person.
totally. That's how I think what
Absolutely.
makes it effective for me is thinking about like if I were to say the things that I say to myself about any of my friends, like I
Mm-hmm.
would be appalled. Like I would be like calling me on my friend's behalf to tell me what a bitch I am, right? Like I would be like
Right.
just so defensive about it. Like I even see tons of people in the chat being like, "Oh, it doesn't work for me. I can't do it. It feels fake." All this kind of stuff. And like I totally understand why you guys feel that way, but I do think that I don't know, it's
Yeah.
it kind of feels like what you're talking about, Ben, where it's like you guys are already so like determined to maintain that sort of like Alyssa kind of referenced it, but it kind of sounds like the default mode network or whatever it's called in psychology, where
Mm-hmm.
it's like this sort of default beliefs that you have to yourself that you kind of resort back to when anything happens. And listen, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend you guys I am like the queen of affirmations. I'm so positive about myself all day. Fuck no, not at all. I am like I definitely should take my own advice, but like I've read the research and I've tried these things, and I do think they're very clear, but it also requires like a little bit of consistency. Like you can't just
Mm-hmm.
read it to yourself in the mirror one time and then expect like you're like everything. Like, sounds like that's kind of like what Ben said, but I'm sure he's being a little
That
hyperbolic. Um,
that
yeah, go ahead.
actually is kind of what happened because
Okay.
it was it was like a major turning point. It's like,
I
and
mean, it
that
can be good
that
if you
was
haven't talked to
constructive.
yourself that
Yeah.
way. I think it can be really life changing, but I do think most of the time it requires a little bit of consistency and persistence to get like a really good clinical benefit out of it. But yeah, I mean, if you've been talking negatively about yourself your whole life, I think it makes sense that in like one session you would be like, oh yeah, I can have positive thoughts about myself. It doesn't have to be negative all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's perfectly okay and understandable to love myself. So, and I
Yeah.
was like, huh, yeah, that it was a huge contributing factor. There was a lot of stewing going on at that time period. And
Yeah.
I think part
Yeah.
of it was like, trying to look at yourself maybe in the third person, like if you saw this person who was exactly like you, and then just
Mm-hmm.
look at their characteristics, and
Yeah.
and then you discover there's a bunch of good ones there. You know?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And I want to also be clear because I see someone in the comments talking about manifesting. And it's not manifesting. It's you're not trying to bring something into your life based on thoughts alone. You're just you're being more attentive to your positive habits, who you are on your best day, so that when you have days where you are not your best, you're not so fixated on that it gets in the way of you being able to like be successful in other ways. It's not manifesting. That's different and made up.
True.
And I think for me part of it was I had a fair amount of like cognitive behavior therapy, and that helped a lot in just
Yeah.
trying to make my thoughts more rational when the thoughts about myself more rational, and that definitely helped in that for that exercise.
Totally. Also
Well, I'm
just
so
a
glad.
little side
Sorry,
thought,
go ahead.
just because no, it's okay. I still see there's so much resistance in the chat. It's really funny. Um,
I know. They
uh,
hate affirmations.
I get it. It does feel a little wooey. I think one way that I can look at it that also helps me not view it as wooey is I love when I am listening to music that kind of hypes me up, and I'm like, if I'm singing these lyrics, if like I really believe them, well, that's one reason why I absolutely fucking love Chapel Roan. Whenever I listen to her
Mhm.
music, I am like totally feeling myself. Like I can't be in a bad mood while you're listening to that, right? And I don't know, that kind of is like a nice little twist on it. But like, yeah, it's so funny that anyway. Listen, not everything works for everybody. That's obviously true, but I do think it's not. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, thank you for calling, Ben. I don't know if you have any last thoughts you
Yeah,
want to give before we talk to our next person.
yeah. Well, I hope people listen, and I don't know if it helps anybody. That'd be great. But thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, the The resistance to affirmations in the line community is, y'all, it's not that serious. It's not that woo-woo. It's just saying my affirmation that I say to myself all the time is I am courageous, creative, and compassionate. That's literally all it is. How is that manifesting? That's just me reminding myself of who I am.
It kind of reminds me of like gratitude too. Like gratitude is also like a really evidence-based practice that helps improve people's like kind of perception of themselves.
Yeah.
And it's very similar where you're not like, it's not about like lying to yourself or being delusional or manifesting, but it's like trying to train your brain to not always go to the negative. Have like positive thoughts about yourself, be part of that default mode network. So definitely yeah, okay. Candy came through. She's like, as a licensed and accredited therapist. Thank you, Candy.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. Listen, I get it. It doesn't work for everyone, and that's fair. But I do,
totally.
whenever people say it doesn't work for me, I low-key feel a little bit like, does it not work for you? Or are you being like resistant to it? You know what I mean?
I think it's resistance. There's no way that you feel the same if every day you are reminding yourself of these really positive things about you, because our brains don't naturally do that. And especially now with like social media and everything, we live in a constant state of comparison to people who have more, better, whatever.
Yeah.
So like, why would this not be helpful? But I don't know.
I think that is true.
Also,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just affirming. I was like, yeah, the comparison culture thing I think is a big hindrance for a lot of people. But yeah.
100%. I also would like you guys to know that during this call, if you saw me looking up like over here, it's because my mother came down, brought down this computer. So she figuratively put out a fire for me, gave me her computer to use. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this candle that's over there and I'm like, that doesn't look right. And that looks like a big flame. And I have a candle that's lit over there and I'm like, I'm really worried. And so I'm texting SOS in my group chat with my mom and my dad. And I was like, a candle's doing something that I don't like. And so she came down and so she came down and she was like, and I was like, and so she,
oh my God,
we're fine. We're fine now. So she figuratively and literally put out fires for me today. So,
oh, Mama coming to the rescue.
What a day. What a time. It's been really since the afternoon on, just couldn't guess the next thing that's coming. And speaking of, we do have another call and we also have lines open.
Yeah, I think we can get one more in if we want. Like, I think the screener could hear me. If we can get one more call in, I'll message you about it too, but that would be great. And then I'll close the lines, but I'd like at least one more person.
Yeah. So, if anyone's wanted to call and they've had a hard time getting through, today is a day where we actually have lines open. So this doesn't happen that much. So get your call in. But for now, we will pull in Daruk. We'll ask him how to pronounce his name. Hello.
Hi, am I on?
Yes, you are. How do we pronounce your name? Is it Daruk?
Yeah, it's Daruk.
Okay.
Real quick, it sounds like the show might be playing in the background. If we can mute it, or I don't know if you're on speakerphone, maybe.
Yeah, I'm using my phone. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I just want to make sure we aren't getting too much echo so the audience can understand what you say. But go ahead.
Yeah, is this better?
Yep, I think so.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I might traumatize any Puritans that might be hanging around the stream with this call, but we will see, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm actually a philosopher. I mostly work on social and political stuff. I do some free love theory and that sort of things. And yeah, I come across a lot of wacky research, but something that really caught my interest is that our sexual cultural practices actually might be harmful to us, like the way. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, you're back. Okay.
1 second.
Yeah, sorry. You have to keep tapping the phone to keep it active, but we hear you again. So go continue.
So yeah, the way we approach sex in society might be actually harmful to us. Like we do it all so hidden. It's this hush hush thing we do behind closed doors, and we need to cover ourselves as such to not offend anybody's sensibilities or something like that, which creates actually like this more toxic culture around sex and sexuality. And it might actually also lead to some pathological behavior about sexuality, increase in sexual assault or stuff like that. Also, are theorized kind of to be connected with it. Like there are some reasons.
Sorry.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
I know. I'm so
There are
sorry
some-
that it works that way. It's so irritating.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. There are some recent studies that show that both topless and clad cultures sexualize, for example, the woman's breast the same amount. So it's not dependent on like, oh, if you're more exposed, you're kind of desensitized to it. But having the attraction doesn't mean doesn't determine the reaction that you will have to the attraction. So maybe if we normalize somehow more sexual behaviors and sexuality and our own bodies in society, we might have some more positive results about sex and sexuality, reduce some sort of sexual tension in society. So I just wonder what you think about it.
So research about sexuality is so interesting because at least, well, it depends on what country the research is being done in, because and the culture that they exist in. So like if this is research that's being done in a country where there's a lot of purity culture and those kinds of standards, it so heavily influences the way that we perceive everything that when we're doing sexuality research and it's survey based, it's always important to like keep that in mind. So I mean, I think it's really interesting, and I would be really interested to see to really see what that study is like. Like you were saying that in cultures where there were like the like topless environments, like topless, I don't know, you said beaches or whatever, that those people were still being sexualized. And it really depends on like the context of what that culture is like, I think. Like if there are places where maybe that won't be the case, there will be for some people where that won't be the case. But I think that sexual culture and continuing having it be taboo is not ever going to help us. And the best case scenario is we continue to normalize, we continue to create exposure to all different sexualities and expressions, because it'll help people neutralize how they feel about all of those things. Like if regardless of where a topless beach is, unless the environment is like really open, like the wherever it is really open, all of the people who are there are from a place where, you know, they're very sexually fluid and open, and bodies are not typically sexualized in that place and whatever, you're still operating in the context of purity culture, even if on that very beach people are allowed to be topless. So the perception of it all is so heavily
May I?
influenced. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I wasn't actually like even talking about topless beach or something. I was talking about like completely like topless societies where it's normal to be topless, like in some tribal
Mm-hmm.
societies in Africa and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think like there's a purity like purity culture angle to it. It's just like biologically our brains are somehow wired to react to basically sexual dimorphism that is evolutionarily created to attract sexual attention. But if we, I think, normalize more like the sexuality in our life, we might react less aggressively about our sexual impulses, is what I'm thinking, like less
Yeah.
intensity and more bonobo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
agree.
like there's no law of nature. Sorry again.
No, it's
There's no
okay.
law of nature that is written that like we do sex this way. It is sort of taboo and needs to be hidden and whatever. It's just like the social norms that we transfer from generation to generation, and it's like you said, doing no favors for us, I believe.
I haven't looked at it in a while, but last time I did look at the evidence around like age appropriate sex education, um, there was even some evidence that those things had positive impacts on like people's views on like queer people and men's views on women and things like this. So I absolutely agree. Like it is like I think the US in particular really has a strong, and of course this comes from like the purity evangelical sort of framework, this like shame culture, which it kind of sounds like what you're tapping into. That like really negatively affects, I think, so many people's values about all of this stuff. And yeah, I completely agree. Like, it's what's frustrating though is when you have this conversation, like a lot of people will be like, "Oh, well, I don't think kids need to be learning about sex at this age," and that's because like their only understanding of sex is like you're talking about this like very specific, like one dimensional kind of act that is like very explicit in nature, rather than that sex is like a kind of a language that humans have, like a way that we communicate with each other that is like about physical intimacy. I think I would like to see a culture where we're able to have conversations about things like this, and have it not be such a big deal. But it's really difficult to even get the conversation started nowadays because people immediately start pretending that they're like, oh, but the children, like you are trying to sexualize them, and it's like, no, I'm trying to give them the language and the tools with which to understand this very natural human part of like the human experience, right? I know there's also evidence about like how it equips like young kids with the language to be able to better address when like assault or anything like that happens to them, rather than like your uncle touched your cookie. Like you can actually talk about where you were touched, and like that actually gets like progress on those things. um so yeah, I don't know, it is the US is terrible about our relationship to sex and shame. And I think a lot of them honestly kind of like it that way because there's a little bit of an element of when it is taboo, when it is shame,
Mhm.
then you kind of turn on this like new element to it where it's like, oh, now I do want that, but I want it where it's shameful because that's like the part that's exciting for somebody. And that
Yeah,
is
it
really
becomes
frustrating because that
pathological.
harms the people who are like the object of that in a lot of cases.
Yeah, it becomes sort of pathological. And yeah, there are so many humans on the planet because obviously, and we are born with the bodies that we are born with, obviously. So, like, why are we being so weird about it? And like, it's even more surreal that I usually get treated like the weird one when I talk more about like sexual liberation or do this sort of work. That oh, you're like violating or something like that. Like that reaction is kind of surreal to me also because it's such a fundamental part of like the human existence. So yeah, it's kind of fascinating.
Totally.
Yeah, definitely. And to just echo what Arden was saying, there is research that shows teaching comprehensive medically accurate sex education. I feel like I say this every show, but it does it promotes fewer teen pregnancies, fewer STIs, less
Yep.
partners over a period of time. It also helps with the self-esteem of the children who are receiving that kind of education. It helps them have better relationships with LGBT plus communities. Like it improves our well-being and our ability to communicate with one another in such a big way that it is always so shocking to me that we still, I think you're right, Arden. It's like the second that we make something accepted and no longer taboo, then I don't know. Then, well, first of all, the opportunity to take advantage of people greatly lessens.
Mhm.
But it's unfortunate because I mean, kids would be in a much better place as adults if they had sex education. Just a little
Yeah.
something.
Erica on this channel, you guys know Erica Gets It Given. She talks a lot about like our ape relatives and stuff like that, our other ape ancestors and or the ones we share a common ancestor with. And in particular with bonobos, I always feel like when she talks about how they do sex, I'm like, low-key, I think if humans weren't so wrapped up in all of our weird shit, that we would be so much more like them.
Yeah.
She talked about how like they would put like a box in front of a group of bonobos and they would get so excited to start exploring it and seeing what was in it that they would just start having sex. Like all of them would just be like, there's a lot of pent up steam.
Yeah.
Let's just bang it out. And once we're all chill and we're feeling a little more calm, then we'll check it out. We'll see what's going on. And I'm like,
Oh, I love it.
Like, I feel like humans really seem like they have that in us when I talk to people who are like a little bit more sexually liberated or who are like, trying to explore things that are kind of not quite so standard in the culture. And yeah, I don't know. Obviously, we're not going to be completely like them. I don't think we're just going to like break out in group sex every time something exciting happens or anything like that. Humans are a little bit more naturally monogamous, and that's cool. But like, yeah, I do think it is. It's such a weird way that we culturally reinforce with so much shame. And maybe there's like a historical part of that, like when we didn't have good technology to like detect or treat sexual diseases. There was probably a bit of like a historical thing for us where it's like, oh, having a bit of a shame or aversion or like a disgust response to overt sexual acts might have like benefited people to a certain degree, right? Because you're not going to get diseases as much if you aren't having sex as much or whatever. But yeah, I'm not totally convinced that we are actually having less sex in those instances. We're just not being as safe or as careful as we could be. And that's really the problem, right? Like, not so much about how much you're having, it's the quality and the kind of stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, like I said, I also work on like free love theory, some sort of anarchist love ethics and relationship ethics, and that sort of research. Yeah, one thing like I found and came across, it's really interesting that some monogamous relationship ethics can also reinforce behaviors like domestic violence and such, because you're seeing the person as this object to be accumulated, protected, like some sort of ownership sort of relationship it turns into, because you're so positive about it. So
yeah,
about the person as an object rather than a person you have a relationship with. So it literally makes it easier for you to objectify the person and then be violent towards them or something like that. So yeah, we should be probably a little bit more relaxed about our relationships, I would say.
Totally.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and actually, Arden, we've had when people talk to us about you brought this up and then I almost forgot to I forgot and then I remembered about how there's some like historical aspect to the purity culture stuff too. We have people bring up all the time on this show that part of the reason why this started was because they wanted to ensure paternity, like men wanted to ensure paternity, and so they needed their partners to only have the one partner, but men could kind of do whatever they pleased. And so that's a conversation that we've had a lot. So like, but now we've evolved past that.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think there's even some human cultures where they actually encourage a very different structure, because not knowing which baby is for sure yours actually was like more encouraging of cohesive male protection of like all of the offspring, because you didn't know which one was yours, so you kind of protected the
Yeah.
whole tribe mentality. I don't know how, like, that's something I'm getting a little bit more into speculation. I haven't researched that too deeply, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, I know I definitely really like this conversation. I used to be so into like sex positivity, feminism, like researching that whole kind of mentality and stuff. And I one thing I love about Chewed Gum is I actually get to like talk about that stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
I forgot how much I love this topic. I'm like, now I want to like go read a bunch of books. So over the summer, while I'm here more often, I can be like a little bit more knowledgeable. Oh.
Yeah, I
That's
love
cool.
it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. I loved it, and it's nice to have just like a chill, nice convo about sexual culture like this. So I appreciate you calling in with it.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry if I was a bit stuttery. It's 2 a.m., so my brain isn't braining too well.
No,
No
your
worries.
brain was braining. You were great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Enjoy the.
All right.
Awesome.
Woo, we have no calls.
Yeah, we had people fill in and then they dropped. And so I'm like, okay, well, I guess, I mean, we're getting close to 90 minutes. I know that was kind of like an average runtime when you and Promise are together. So we're getting there. I talk a lot, and when I'm on, I feel like the shows go longer. And so I'm always like, okay, at least I know I'm not talking as much this time.
Okay, and also last week we did a show that was like 3 hours, and so it feels
Right.
like we're like averaging out to be 90 minutes by
Yeah.
having this one be so short. But yeah, we just like don't have anyone else who called. So I guess no one else wants to talk to us today, and everyone feels very busy. I don't know, it was a really nice day today, so maybe people are outside on a
Good.
Tuesday.
I hope people are outside because I was not. I was in my office and then my therapist's office and then my office. But we do have some super chats, so
Yeah.
we can get to those. If you guys want to send any super chats, any of $5 or more, we will read out live. Starting right.
Okay, $6.99 Canadian from David. Arden, how do you feel about cis authors writing trans characters? I have a trans character in my outline. I want him to ring true, but also not be a stereotype.
Ooh, we've taken this call on TACIS several times. There's actually an author who's called in like 3 or 4 times to kind of help workshop her trans characters. I mean, I personally am fine with like a cis person writing about trans characters or playing trans characters as long as you're doing what you're doing right now and you're talking to trans people and you're actually getting thoughts and feedback on how it's coming across. Because a lot of the times when they get criticism, I find that cis people will be like, well, no, I'm actually not doing that criticism thing you said and I'm doing it right. And it's like they're just not even receptive. So definitely being receptive to like criticisms and willingness to change. But I think the big thing is kind of, I don't know, there's different ways you can do it, right? You can write a story where like trans people are oppressed like they are in this world, and you can kind of use it to show how that manifests and how that affects people like in a similar way. I think that is one strategy you can use. And then you can also do a strategy where you just make them normal and not a big deal. And when it's revealed that they're trans, it is like very much not really a thing. And it's just kind of like learning another piece of backstory about this person. Um, I think both have their value. I found a lot of queer people really don't like it's like we deal with oppression in real life. So a lot of queer people are like kind of don't like the analog situation to like where they're oppressed in the fictional story. I don't mind either. I think there's a lot of value, but I don't know. That's just what I've heard from people responding to things throughout the community over the years. So yeah, there's lots of different ways you can do it. Just be open to feedback, you know? Blah. 10 pounds from Herbie Shine. I feel like I talked the whole last one, but then this was my to read, and I'm like, oh, shut up, Arden. No, see that negative feedback loop. We're talking about it. I got one too.
Interrupt it.
Interrupted. 10 pounds from Herbie Shine. Well, in the comments of Promises posts, I've had people look at my Facebook and see that I'm fuller figured person and spend days insulting me rather than address the points I've made. Sad but funny. I mean, yeah, when they don't have a real argument, right? They're just like,
Yeah.
well, you're dumb and ugly, so you're like,
Yeah. They have nothing
thanks.
else to say. I have nothing else to say. Imagine, and like, the way that you look is always going to be the least interesting thing about you. And that's all that they have. That's all they have. Losers.
You.
$10 from Heather Rochi. I got canceled seems to be the conservative equivalent to I got cast on a successful sci-fi franchise telling my story career. Yes.
True.
Correct.
Very similar to Christians. They have that like victim complex, you know?
Yes.
I'm so persecuted for just having different opinions, like that trans people are subhuman and don't deserve access to public spaces.
Right. It's just a difference of opinion.
A little different.
Can't take it.
£5 from Sean Isherwood. Okay, Sean. A derangement of n is a permutation of n objects with no fixed points. The number of derangements of n is L n divided by e plus 1/2 backwards L. Here L times backwards L is the floor of X. I know there's some math person who's gonna be like, "Well, Arden's so stupid." That's clearly means like I don't fucking know. I don't do math.
Ain't gonna
stuff,
be
you guys.
fucking
Listen.
me. Yeah, I don't know.
Give me behavioral stats all day long. Give me like stats relevant to policy issues. That feels like it makes sense to me. I can connect it to real world things. The second you give me this, I'm like, that didn't mean anything.
That means nothing. I'm sure it's something related to the line. My eyes were crossing trying to read that.
Yeah.
$9.99 from Daniel. I am sub to the Patreon, but Jesus said generosity that other people can't see doesn't count. That's funny. Well, you know, we just got to get everyone on the Patreon.
True. £5 of Mystic Minds Analysis Tavern. Learning to draw has been so empowering to me. It showed my dedication to progress and expressing my creativity. Hashtag Team Arden. Hashtag genderqueer chaos incarnate. Love that for you. I love drawing. I draw all the time. That was like my calming down myself activity. So I relate.
Love it.
Ooh, I think we got a math one for you.
Shit. Okay. £5 from Sean Isherwood. Let P be prime. Any group of order prime squared is abelian. That is, if an object has P squared symmetries, the order of their composition does not matter. The order of the composition of this entire message does not matter to me at this time because I have no idea. I have no idea.
I totally thought you were going to say
don't know.
Albanian for that. And I was like, honestly,
I
more
almost-
valid. Like, it sounds right to me.
I almost did because I was like, Albanian's a word that I've read.
Right.
Abelian? This is my
Abelian?
first time.
Oh my God,
This is
that's
my
so
first
funny. My first time. Come on. I've just been 8 times now. There we go. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Regarding affirmations, they do feel fake and shitty. That's not the point. It's not magic. It's programming your brain, your attention. It's operant conditioning. Exactly. That's why I'm like, it's not like, I'm glad that worked that way for that caller, but it's definitely not going to be a situation where you read it in the mirror for like 99% of people and like you suddenly feel, oh my God, I have confidence now. Like, no, you're changing how your brain works. That takes time.
Yeah, totally. And it's going to feel stupid, like Monkey said. Thank you for sharing that. $5 from Jamnik06. Instead of comparing yourself to others, just compare yourself to yourself a day/week/year before today. Just try to be a little bit better than them. I love that. I love that idea. I heard someone say, if you're ever, it was like on Instagram earlier today, I saw someone say, if you ever are thinking that you haven't made enough progress, ask yourself if you would trade places with you exactly a year ago. Like, would you trade places with yourself exactly 1 year prior? And if you wouldn't, then you probably made more progress than you would give yourself credit for.
That's true. That's a good way to think about it. I like it. Why is this button not working? $10 from Brent J. By the time you read this, I'll be on my way to pick up some brain treats and snackies. Hashtag Team Bonnie. Good for you. I will be getting my brain treats as soon as the show is done.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that this weekend. 10 pounds. I know. I'm Arden. I'm gonna text you this weekend.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I'm gonna text you this weekend, and it's gonna be a picture of me from this angle.
And
it's gonna be me like, and you're gonna be able to see all of the boogers in my nose, and I'm gonna say I'm melting into my bed right now.
And I'm gonna be like, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, exactly. 10 pounds from Hervey Shine. Having listened to the conversation with others, I'm worried my first super chat may have seemed like I was being a whiny poor me guy. I hope it didn't seem that way, as it was only intended as anecdotal. Oh my god, sorry I yawned halfway through that. No, you didn't seem whiny. It's fucking rude that people would do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why would they do that? It's rude. So you're allowed to be like, what the fuck?
Absolutely. And we've got $10 from Cheeseburger. Decided to ask instead of call. Instead of affirmations, I used to use signs on my walls that were kind of bullying to myself. Got me into the best shape of my life, but yeah, probably was a bad idea. I mean, like, listen, whatever works for you works for you. I don't think it's like we're all different, right? But
yeah,
I think it's more what we're responding to is like the intense resistance in our audience to like what is an empirical evidence-based practice, because it feels wooey to people. And it's like, it might, I don't know, if it feels wooey to you, I don't know how to respond to that other than like, I don't care. Like, it's just, it's not.
Yeah, I agree. And like, there are some people who like this type of, oh my god, sorry. I started yawning. Now I can't stop.
I know, now I'm gonna yawn.
I'm sorry. I'm not even that tired. But oh, so sorry. Oh my god. See, you're on chewed gum 2 weeks in a row, and at 8:30 p.m. you're yawning. Yeah.
Sleepy.
That's what it is. Yeah, sleepy. Yeah, for some people that like very intense like bullying type of thing is helpful. I just can't imagine that being good for you long term. But yeah, like you said, Arden, it's like this is not. I think it's because the woo-woo space has like really taken affirmations to like a different space.
Yeah.
But it is like scientifically supported. So if you guys don't want to believe us, you don't have to, but there's science.
I mean, that is why manifesting is a thing, right? Because when you're like, oh, I'm successful, I'm creative, I'm manifesting success, like you are basically doing positive affirmations that are going to lead you to make like better decisions in pursuit of that goal, right? Like you are essentially doing a like kind of weird form of affirmation. So like, that's why people have bought into it so heavily.
Yeah. $5 from Ashley Webb. I'm intersex and trans, working on something that I hope sets the world on fire for our community.
Ooh.
Well, you have to share with us whenever you can, because I'm sure we'll be happy to support you. That's awesome.
Then we got $10 from Bobby Keniston. The story about the bonobos in the box made me think of Seven. Brad Pitt shouting, "What's in the box?"
What?
Okay, I haven't seen this movie. If he and Morgan Freeman had just bonoboed, he would have been calmer. Winning bonoboed. True, though.
That's so funny.
Okay, whenever men get close, like they're about to fight and they're like puffing chest, I'm always like, you guys really just need to kiss it out.
Kiss.
It is.
Kiss.
Yes.
Kiss.
Every time they'll get like face to face, like 2 inches apart. And I'm like, how are you not about to make out right now? Like the tension is palpable.
I think they would feel better if they did. Just a little one.
For real.
Little one, nothing crazy. Just like a little, and then move on.
I mean, if you wanted to make out, I wouldn't be mad about it, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, and whatever. And if you decide you want to make out, it's fine. We're supporting you, but also just like a little, I think, do you know how many wars wouldn't have started? So
we could have stopped wars with just a little kiss.
Just a little peck. Little... $9.99 from Daniel. We need a male equivalent of this show, Gum Chewers. Topics include the male loneliness epidemic, cancel culture, toxic femininity, and why that barista with the septum piercing gave a fake number. I think that's the Andrew Tate show.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure there's like 100 male equivalents of the show on the internet.
That's so funny. Or like the Whatever podcast that like keeps. Do you know that they harass Promise and I like quarterly to go on that podcast?
I heard about that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like not appearing on podcasts hasn't really served people on the left. So I think, visibility is good, but there are some podcasts and some domains that are so like dishonest and that are going to have you sign, like when you come onto the line, nobody signs fucking any paperwork at all. We have a conversation, we come to agreements for sure, but like, I'm not making people sign paperwork or anything like that, right? When you go onto these podcasts, you are signing away your right to how you're represented on that show in so many instances, which is just like ridiculous to me.
And it's also, every time they've asked, we have said in one way or another, we do a virtual call-in show. You can virtually call in and join any show on the line. We will set aside time and we will do it with you. And it is live streamed, so you can't edit it. And, you're welcome anytime. And they will not do it. And it's like, okay, well, that just tells me that you are going to try and prepare topics that you have all of this extra prep time for, and then you're going to edit it to make us look like fucking assholes. And no, you are already dishonest in the way that you're wanting to do this. Which, like, I was talking to Jimmy earlier today, and he was saying, we were talking about like something else, and he was like, if you ever wanted to do, like, if you ever had someone who would do a show with you on like a Friday or a Saturday, like, we can arrange for that. And in my head, I'm like, should we have the Whatever podcast guys come on like a weekend and just like, that'd be so great. But they would never do it. They would never fucking do it. So
yeah, I won't hold my breath. But definitely if you have guests who are like kind of like the normal guests we would bring on, anytime Fridays and Saturdays, we're trying to up our frequency with which we do those side shows. So
yeah.
I don't remember who this $10 from Space Barbarian. In regard to affirmations, what could be more skeptical than rejecting logical fallacies about yourself and rejecting con artists selling solutions to feeling broken? Well, the thing is, skepticism is following the evidence where it leads, and there's no logical fallacy in affirmations. You might be lying to yourself, but that doesn't necessarily make it a logical fallacy. And it's not like when you say selling solutions in quotations, that makes it sound like it's snake oil, and it's not. It's, again, an empirical evidence-based practice with like decades of data behind it. So I don't, maybe I'm reading this wrong. Am I like reading this wrong?
No, it's the skeptic community has a really, really hard time with affirmations. I think they confuse affirmation. And that sounds condescending. I don't mean it to, but I think that we're confusing affirmations and manifesting. They're not the same thing. They're not the same things. It's just, so I don't know. I think what you said is exactly right. There is, if you are a skeptic, then you would follow the evidence, and the evidence would tell us that this is something that is good for our brain. It's sort of like if you go to a therapist and all you're doing is talk therapy, it would be really easy for someone who is highly skeptical to be like, yeah, and I'm just going to go and talk to a person, and then all my solutions are going to be all my solutions to being broken are me just talking to another person. I could talk to anybody. Why would I go to a therapist? It's like it's like, yeah, but there's evidence to show that like that type of support from a person who's educated in that way is really helpful. There's evidence to show that changing the feedback loop in your head and interrupting negative thoughts with positive ones is helpful. And that doesn't mean that your affirmation is, I am a CEO of like a Fortune 500. It's an affirmation like, I am courageous, I am creative, whatever. And then it just helps you bring that energy into your day, into your brain, instead of walking around. You really think that it doesn't make a difference when someone says to you, you're a piece of shit? We know that's not true. So we so easily believe when people are being bullied that words matter. We don't think that words matter in the opposite way too. Of course they do.
Yeah,
Anyway.
absolutely. Also, I'm seeing they did put in chat that they basically meant the opposite. So I guess maybe that's their response to affirmations, not
Okay.
their thoughts on it. So
Okay.
I don't know. I think they agree with us, is what I'm getting out of it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad.
Oops.
$20 from Ash Glitch. Google Mangaya. It's considered one of the most sexually liberated cultures on the world. Way more open than here, obviously, but still not perfect since they have child relations and sexual violence. Gotta find a medium. I will look that up.
Ooh.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to look more into that. I'm always, as soon as somebody tells me to Google something on air, I'm like, are you about to send our whole audience to some nonsense? But I think that is actually a real thing.
It is a place, a southerly of the Cook Islands, which I don't know where that is.
$5 from DaCosta. I heard read a bunch of books about that book club. I don't listen.
You've been talking about a book club.
The second I do a book club, that's when I'll like defer and I'll fail on reading the book. Like the second it feels like an obligation, I know I'm gonna totally fall off the wagon. So I can't participate in that. But I do like reading, and it would be good to refresh. I read so many books about sexuality when I was like fresh out of my psychology degree. I was just finding the topic really interesting. I know we geeked out a little bit about Esther Perel last week. I love Esther Perel's books. She's great. Highly recommend anything she's done. Obviously, I've read some of like the Gottman stuff because they've just got a great track record when it comes to like relationship and understanding stuff. But always down to expand my brain more.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many good ones. And I have I've been meaning to move to a different platform, but honestly I haven't been reading very much. But I have a whole list on Goodreads, and it's tagged in my Instagram story somewhere. Or in like an Instagram highlight about books. But I have a Goodreads list of books that are about sexuality, and sometimes they're even like gender adjacent, like things like related to I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in that list. There's like a book list, and one of them is like sex related books. So I don't know if there's anything interesting that you might want to read, or anybody else in this chat wants to read from that list. It's linked in my Instagram somewhere.
Hell yeah.
You'll find
Check it out.
$5 for Aaliyah Shauna Silverboat. I missed most of the show live, so I have nothing relevant to say. Toy boat 10 times fast. Okay. Toy boat. No, I can't say it. That's hard. That's hard to say.
Toy boat. Oh no. Oh wow. Yeah, that is so hard. Immediately goes to boy.
Hard.
Toy boy.
Aaliyah Shauna, we had a really chill show today. Actually, here's the real tea. The calls were really chill. I had a really chaotic show, if I'm being honest, because my computer like almost died halfway through. And then my mom brought down her computer. So now I'm using my mother's computer. And then I look over and there was a candle on my dresser, and it's like in flames, not in a good way. So then I had to have her come down. I'm texting her and I'm like, SOS. I'm hearing this lovely man, Ben, tell us about his affirmations. And I'm like, I'm looking at a fire. So, you know.
Listen, we got through.
What are you going to do?
We got through. It's all good.
Wait, it be like that sometimes. What are you going to do?
It does. Then we've got $10 from Mr. Boricua 10. Oh my God. British at Alyssa Ljub. I caught your comment about my super chat being a bit of dread, mate. What gives, lass? I didn't know I'd produce fear in you. My apologies, madam.
That was really good.
Oh my God.
That was really good. That was better than me and Promise ever do. Oh my God.
It feels like I am treading through a river that's muddy with deep. I'm like, okay.
Oh my God. You did great. You did so great.
Thank you. I'm waiting for my Emmy.
Oh my God. $5 from Aaliyah Shauna Silverboat. I just built an ATM that only gives out coins. I don't know why no one's ever thought of it before. It just makes sense. That's good.
$4.99 from Sid. And as an atheist, I have to say this weird affirmation when I get intrusive thoughts. I consider myself a moral person, and I say I'm not a hypocrite. totally.
Wow.
I have intense intrusive thoughts. It's actually like, I don't know if it's, I don't know. I've always had therapists that are weird about diagnoses, and I get why, because it doesn't always help
Mhm.
have like a label. It's better to kind of like treat symptoms. But one of mine is intense intrusive thoughts that are like totally lies about myself, right? Very negative things. This kind of thing is what I do all the time. Like every single day. I have to do this multiple times a day when I'm like, oh yeah, my brain is like punching me in the face again. Good fun. Good fun.
Yeah, intrusive thoughts are tough. My main intrusive thoughts were at my worst in my mental health journey. My main intrusive thoughts were food related, and particularly like with which is why whenever anybody asks about food diet stuff, I always am like, trust me, trust me. What I got going on, you don't want. Because the intrusive thoughts alone are so disturbing and weird. It's like if someone if we're like going to breakfast and like literally no one orders bacon, all I can think about is like the pig that they slaughtered to make the bacon, and it's like I'm thinking about it in the most graphic way. It's horrid. And I can't stop. And then I worked really hard with my therapist for a long time to get that under control. We love an intrusive thought.
I love therapy to help me cope
Me
with the intrusive.
too. Yeah.
We have $20 from Duffelbag 410. Tough choice: pack of gum or roll of double-sided safe. It's
What is this a
for
response to?
oh yeah, no, it is at. I'm not okay, hold on.
Let's
Duffelbag
see.
10. Okay, when I type that into my search, it doesn't come up with anything. So I don't know. I was
Yeah, like what are we using this for?
I mean, I feel like it could be like related to the chewed gum analogy, because I've heard some people do like a tape
Oh.
analogy, right? Where it's like you stick the tape on a bunch of things and it stops sticking.
Yes. Yes.
But I don't know. That's my guess. I have no idea.
I had the tape one. That was the tape analogy.
Mhm.
Or that was the sex analogy that I had when I was growing up. I didn't get the chewed gum one. I got the tape one. Yeah, both bad.
Yeah, both are terrible.
Both bad. 5 pounds from Sean Isherwood. Damn it. The statement A or B is logically equivalent to not A implies B. It's so short and it just makes no sense.
Okay, this one is at least more logic based and not quite. So I know there's math people who are gonna be like, math is just logic. Yes, I understand that, like in principle, but this is like something you would get in like an intro to philosophy class at least, and not in like a calculus class or something.
Yeah.
That one I think I kind of follow at least.
Not A. Oh, actually, yeah. Okay, yeah. Like if it's A or B, then logic would imply that if it's not A, it's B.
It's B. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at least that one was mostly logic focused. That one felt like philosophy, not like you're quizzing me on actual mathematics.
Stresses me out.
$5 from Space Barbarian. Yeah, I tried to encourage the critics of that affirmations are good skepticism. Yes, okay, that's good.
Thank you, Space Barbarian. $5 from Razor Sharp. Missed my chance to call in. Oh well, next time I guess. Still a good show. Thank you so much. And yeah, we like literally wrapped the show because we had no more calls, which is like very rare for Chewed Gum. Actually, I think for all of our shows on the line.
Yeah.
So yeah, this would have been a really great day to call, but we'll be back next Tuesday. And so you'll get to just call in then.
Yep. I don't know who it's going to be. I know we were trying to maybe get either Taylor or some other people who could potentially fill in, but I think we're trying to get some other things happening first, and those aren't working out as well.
Okay. Well, I have some other people that I was talking to you about earlier, so maybe we can get one of those girls on.
Yeah, I could definitely, I think, get one of them since I actually know her.
I know. So crazy. I love
well.
it intimately, one might say.
Intimately,
hilarious.
one might say.
when that came up, I was doing the podcast with Jimmy, and I was like, my friend knows my friend? My friend knows my friend. This is so fun.
Yeah, we did. I mean, I can just say, these people know. I did a show with her years ago on a different network. And then, yeah, we just became friends. We chatted from time to time. And then at one point, we were like, hey, we should do content together. And we did.
Love it. I love it. I love seeing the girlies win.
$5 from Alyssa on a silver boat. The trick to toy boat is to focus on the oat of boat as you're saying it. Toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boy, toy boy. No.
It was working for a little while.
just for a second. Bleh.
Oh my god, that's so
honestly,
funny.
That's so good though. I used to do those singing exercises all the time where you would say like some ridiculous phrase and like a melody, and I feel like that should be one of those.
I remember red, yellow, leather. That one I remember.
Yeah, red leather, yellow leather.
Yeah. And then you have to say that over and over and over again. Bane of my existence. £5 from the Fuzzy Logic. Instead of a structured book club, how about a reading list? Could have all the hosts and crew contribute. Maybe a new patron/member perk. Ooh, that's a nice idea. A book list would be really nice.
Yeah, I think my only concern is where, at least as far as like making it a patron thing, is exactly what the logistics would be to going into managing that, to making sure it's happening. Because I don't want to promise you guys something and then not deliver, which, listen, I know every single YouTuber ever does that on their Patreon, but we do our best, right? To try to make sure we're always following through. So,
would they just want, like, do you want us to just collect a book list? Like, just ask all of the hosts to just give a couple of books, and then there's just like a book list that lives on Patreon, and if you want it, you have access to it. Like, there's not to be much follow-up.
Yeah, maybe we could find a way to like also integrate like the Discord or something, where it's like if you finished this book, you can like go into this little channel to talk about it or whatever. We'll see. I'll think about it more. But that is the last super chat of the night.
Is that our last one? Wow.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you to all of our screeners and mods, and to Arden for producing, and also being the best co-host. And we'll see you all next time. Be a patron. Go to patreon.com/calltheline and join our Patreon. And
become one of the people on this lovely list.
Yeah.
Get all the credit.
Join the list. Join the list.
Join the list.
It's very nice over there. Ooh. Join the list. That's our affirmation.